Hi, and welcome to episode 10 of Adding the Alchemy. I am one of your co-hosts, Angie, and I am a board-certified holistic health practitioner with Adding the Good Things.
And I am Angela, the energetic alchemist, and I help people to transform their energetic blueprint to create everything that they desire in life.
Today, we are going to talk about masculine and feminine energies. We have been on the subject of different types of energy for a few podcasts now. And in this sense of the word energy, I feel like it's a little bit different. You could probably change it out for the word aspect or characteristic. It's not quite the same energy that we have been talking about, like with chakras and nature and EMFs and that kind of thing. But sometimes in the English language, we don't have words to accurately describe everything, and we use the same word to mean lots of different things. So, masculine and feminine energies today. We're going to talk about this in a few different ways. We're going to talk about what it is to have this energy, both of these energies within ourselves. We're going to talk about what that looks like in a two-person relationship. We're going to talk about what that looks like in entrepreneurship and building a business. So lots of different aspects today. And I just want to start off by saying that this is not about sex or gender at all. No matter whether you are male or female, no matter what gender you identify as, everyone has both aspects. Everyone has a masculine side and a feminine side. And they sometimes we portray one side more than the other. But again, I just want to be clear about the fact that this is not related to your sex or your gender. This is just about the fact that each human has masculine aspects and feminine aspects. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Angela.
Yes. This world kind of teaches us the masculine and feminine in a superficial way, which is like man, woman. And when you really get into the energy in your body and the masculine and feminine energies, to me, what they say like in the Bible and stuff about the marriage of the masculine and feminine is more of in yourself, because in order to live the most aligned and authentic life for yourself, those two energies should be married and living in harmony with each other. So the masculine energy is more of like the doing, the go, 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 the hustle energy, the productivity, the all these things. Whereas the feminine energy is more of like the flow and the feeling and just the relaxed and peaceful energy. So a lot of people living male or female will take on one or the other, or more one than the other. So I spent a lot of my life in the masculine energy because basically I didn't think that it was okay to feel my feelings. Flow and relaxing and peace and calm, that felt very chaotic and unsafe to me. And it just, I didn't feel comfortable in my feminine energy. So I very much took on the energy of the masculine, of the doing. And so I was doing things to receive love. I was doing things to receive recognition, and I was doing things to, I was doing, and I wasn't allowing myself to receive. And one of the biggest things I think that showed me this was in receiving compliments, because it took me a very, very long time to be able to like hear a compliment and just say like, oh, thank you so much, instead of trying to tell them like, oh, oh, I got it on sale, I got the shirt on sale, or oh this or oh that, and basically like talk them out of it, or do something to make it, the conversation worthwhile, or I don't know. But that feminine, like sit back and just receive energy is so difficult for much of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a single person, and I have kind of the role, I have to make sure that both of those are married so that I can do the things I need to do. And I'm learning now how to do that. Whereas like I need to do the things around the house, and I need to make money, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. But also now I can sit back and I can feel my feelings, and I can receive, and I can feel love and all of these things. So yeah, it's I don't have that male masculine energy in my life to help, to be that male energy in my life. So I have to do that. But and that's okay. So like I think different periods of our life, we will either be more in our masculine or more in our feminine, depending on what we're going through. And I feel like a lot of men have an issue with their feminine side, because basically men are basically told like, no, you can't feel, don't cry, don't this, don't la 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 la. You have to be the provider, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I think that it's detrimental to a lot of relationships, man-woman relationships in the world, because they're not acknowledging of that feminine side. Whereas, we hear like, oh, women are so emotional and da 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 da, but it's that feminine side that the males in the world have basically pushed down. We've been living in our masculine energy in this world mainly for, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, because we had to work, we had to do, we had to build, we had to this, we had to that. And now I don't know if you've ever heard of like, if any of you have ever heard of like the rise of the divine feminine and all of these things. This isn't just about the divine feminine as in women. This isn't about the rise of women, like so many of us are told. Like this is about the rise of the divine feminine, as in the happiness, the peace, the feeling, the calm of the world. The masculine energy is living mostly from the masculine energy is just not working for us anymore in the world collectively. So
yeah, we have to have the balance, like you said. We have to have both aspects, whether we are just as a single person or within a relationship or a partnership. There has to be balance there. I just want to reiterate really quickly that the masculine energy is the one that gives. The feminine energy receives.
Okay, yes, yeah.
The masculine energy takes action, where the feminine energy is more restful. The masculine energy is very disciplined, where the feminine energy is very flowy. The masculine energy is much more logical, where the feminine energy is much more intuitive. So we have all of this within us as a human. We have all of this. We have the ability to give and receive. We have the ability to take action and to rest. We have the ability to be disciplined and to flow. We have the ability to be logical and to be intuitive. We all have these within us. And for you as a single person, you really have to balance all of that very carefully to keep it all moving like it's supposed to move. Now, within relationships, again, it doesn't matter if we're talking about heterosexual relationships or homosexual relationships. We still have to have the balance in this. And typically, one person will be more on one side and the other person will be more on the other side. And ideally, that's how it works. Because if you have two people who are both in their masculine energy and we don't have any receiving or resting or intuition or flow, we're going to burn out really quickly.
Yeah.
And then if we have both people who are very much in their feminine energy and they're just receiving and resting and flowing and intuitive, then we're not going to get anything done, because nobody's taking action. Nobody's being disciplined. Nobody's doing anything. We're just laying around and that's fun for a while. That's nice. That's nice for a while.
Yeah. Yes.
But eventually something has to get done. And so what I have found personally, I am currently in my second and last marriage. And in this relationship, I have very much had to work on being in my feminine energy. In my first marriage, I was full on in my masculine energy. I was doing everything, giving everything, taking all the action, being the disciplinarian, being like full on masculine. Didn't even at the time, didn't even understand what masculine and feminine energies were. Had no idea. I grew up watching my mom and my grandmother both live in their masculine energy. So I didn't know what it was to see a woman in her feminine energy, and I didn't know how a relationship operated that way. I had no concept. But in this relationship, in this marriage, I have very much embraced my feminine energy and allowed my husband to stay in his masculine. And that was not an easy task at first. It really was not. That took me a long time to be able to allow myself to receive, to allow myself to rest, to allow him to be the provider and know that it was okay, that it was really okay, that I didn't have to do it, and that it was okay for me to just receive that from him and rest just and be and flow and tap into my intuition. And now all of that is second nature to me, and it's very nice. And it's where, at least I would say, at least I'm 60-40, at least I want to be 60% in my feminine energy and 40% in my masculine. So, I'm moving in what feels like the right direction for me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it has to be that way for everybody. And the more I move into that and allow myself to be in that feminine, the more he can rise in his masculine and be successful in that. So it's like when I do what I need to do for me, it allows him to rise into what he needs to do for him. And it just, you get the balance and the flow and everything happens so nicely. One analogy that I really like that we've been using lately is that of a flagpole and a flag. So the masculine is the flagpole. The masculine is standing there, sturdy. The masculine is grounded. The masculine is strong. The feminine is the flag. So the flag is there to be flowy and beautiful, and sometimes shining in all of her fullness, and sometimes just hanging and not showing herself. But all the while, the flag is supported by the flagpole. The flagpole is always there to support the flag. And they both have entirely different elements. You couldn't switch it around. The flag cannot support the flagpole.
Correct. Yeah.
The raw materials are not there. It just could not happen. So this is something that my husband and I will comment on frequently at this point, just because it's an analogy that we like. But I think it's one that it's easy for people to wrap their brains around a little bit. If you think that masculine is that sturdy, strong energy that is grounded and holds up the feminine energy. And the feminine energy is the flowy, beautiful, sometimes wanting to show all of her glory and sometimes not wanting to show herself at all, but is always supported by the flagpole.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is where the misconception comes in of the feminine the feminine what do they call it? Like oh my gosh, I'm blanking here. The feminine um like basically allowing the masculine to take over everything and be I'm blanking. But
Okay.
anyways, okay, so if you I'm sorry. I am like there's a lot going on right now outside and it's freaking me out.
Okay.
I gotta like I don't know.
Okay. We'll take
Like
a break. Okay, we had to pause for a couple of minutes, but we are back. So Angela, pick up where you left off.
okay, so I was talking about how we have this idea, and I have heard from many men that the woman is supposed to submit to the man. And my one of my ex-boyfriends used to say this to me all the time. And basically, he was trying to like he didn't want to hear my perspective. He didn't want to hear, it was very much a wounded masculine response. But the idea of a woman submitting to a man is actually at the energetic level, it's just the woman sitting back and receiving, I'm sorry, not the woman, the feminine energy receiving, while the masculine energy is giving and doing. So I think this is another thing that's kind of taught superficially in our world as man and woman when it's technically not that. And I think like what you were saying with the intuition, like in a relationship, and this is what I after being in that experience with an ex-boyfriend, I sat and I thought about it, and it was like the masculine man, like the man that's living mostly in his masculine, is not going to as much listen to the intuition. So the woman in the relationship who's more in her feminine energy will have the intuition, whereas the man will have the logic, and they can come up with a solution between the two. And I think so when you have two people that have the masculine and feminine energies married inside of them and in harmony inside of them, and then you come into a relationship with these two people, one of them can be more in their masculine and be logical, while the other one's in their feminine and more intuitive. And they can come to that ground, that middle ground, that really will be the best solution for whatever the issue is, or so. And a lot of times in relationships, like my old relationship, because the man was living in a wounded masculine response to the world, I had to step up as a masculine energy to kind of balance that out. And I was living in my masculine energy in that for that time anyways, because I was, doing different things. And I was very much living in my wounded feminine and just walking around in my masculine external world, trying to make everything fall at my feet, trying to make, and I was trying to create a life that I wanted, but I didn't know what I wanted because I wasn't in tune with my intuition. I wasn't in tune with my emotions and my body, and I wasn't in tune with my feminine in any way. So I was trying to logic everything, and if you live by purely logic, you're going to live in a world where you're going to do what other people tell you because that's what works. You're going to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if that works for you, that works for you. But I truly believe that every single person is here with a very unique gift. And if we aren't tapping into both energies, we will not be authentic in what those gifts actually are, and just living in one or the other. Because when I was living fully in my masculine, I was trying to make everyone be what I wanted them to be and do what I wanted them to do. And then I like went to the whole opposite end, and I was just trying to live for my feminine and just sit back and do nothing and receive. And it was just a wounded feminine response that I was living in now, because I wanted to live that way, but I wasn't allowing the masculine in now because I was so afraid of it. Not necessarily afraid, but I wanted the opposite of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, in a marriage, like, it's the one supports the other. And I think that the common ground, like when you have that flagpole and then the flag is flying, now you have the best solution to this issue. You can see this beautiful flag. You have the stability. When they work together,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the magic happens,
Mm-hmm.
within yourself and in relationships, friendships, anything really. So
Yeah. And
yeah, I think that
both people have to be willing to understand their part and embody the energy that they need to in order for it to work together. Like you mentioned in your previous relationship, the other person was in his wounded masculine, which forced you to step up into your masculine.
mm-hmm.
Because if he wasn't carrying that masculine role, that healed, aligned masculine role, then you don't have the choice. And that's what is happening a lot in relationships, where people are in that wounded energy. And so then the other person has no choice but to step up into the energy that they don't necessarily want to be in. And all it does is just create havoc, and it's not going to be an aligned relationship. One thing that it's another, it's not really an analogy, but I'll just say this. I think it's really cool within a marriage or relationship. The masculine provides the house, the feminine creates the home. The masculine provides the food, the feminine creates the meal. The masculine provides the money, the feminine creates the budget. The masculine provides protection, the feminine creates the purpose. Now, I specifically use the words masculine and feminine there and not man and woman, because this is where we get caught up in the whole, the man goes to work and the woman stays home. And that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not, it can be totally flipped around, and it doesn't matter if your relationship is a traditional heterosexual relationship, or if you are in a homosexual relationship, or if you are doing this all by yourself. You still have the providing versus the creation, house versus home, food versus meal, money versus budget, protection versus purpose. Both of these are equally important. One is not higher than the other. And each energy contributes to make the whole thing work. So that is one way for me to look at it, that just makes it clear and easy to understand. But where we get caught up, where we fall off, where we think the woman submits to the man, is when people get too off track with this and think that, in these old ways of thinking, that the man has to go out to work and the woman just sits home barefoot and pregnant.
And I think in the like traditional gender roles of the woman's home cooking and taking care of kids and and the man goes and that is very much a structure that's being broken apart now, mm-hmm. because of I believe the divine feminine now coming more online, because now before it was like, then when it was changing, it was like the woman is now stepping into her masculine. Like she went from being a housewife and now she's going to work. Mm-hmm. And so now she's very masculine. And I feel like now it's starting to flow a little better, and it's starting to, and I've heard so many women say things like, women just don't take care of their husbands like they used to, or women don't cook for their husbands like they used to, and da 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 da. But I think that's actually a sign of evolution, because personally, I don't think that one person should be responsible for taking care of another person that can take care of themselves, like fully responsible. That's my experience, my opinion, so if that's what you're doing, like, it's totally fine. That's just not me. I would never take care of somebody who's fully capable of taking care of themselves. And I think that's just the energy is starting to change and shift in the world. It's just a different dynamic now, and there's nothing wrong, and there's nothing bad, and things aren't falling apart, and it's just different. And I believe also that, like, now, because of the energy in this world, we have to do things differently. The old things that we were doing, the old traditional roles, and the old, like, those things aren't working for us anymore, as far as like evolution and evolving.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's kind of a good thing in a way that these things are starting to break down, and I think it's right on time. It's not, yeah, it's not scary or bad or destructive or any of these things that I've heard. I've heard many women say things like this. So I think it's really important to see that as the divine feminine comes online, things are going to change. Things are going to be differently. We're going to change, and now we're seeing the movements of, the LGBTQIA movements and all of these things, where it's not about biological man woman. This is about the energy. I'm more in my masculine, I'm more in my feminine, so I want to be referred to as a she or a he. And it has nothing to do with biological gender. That's just the thing that we need to procreate.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with masculine and feminine energy. And so this whole movement has just been breaking apart all of those traditional things that used to work for us, that we needed to build what we have today. So I think, yeah, it's all breaking apart, and it's for the best in humanity, and we're going in a way where everything is accepted, and instead of you have to do this and that and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's all like coming full circle, and we're moving in the right direction. Absolutely.
Yeah. And just understanding that, to reiterate what you said about people, it's not about sex or gender, but in order for the relationship to work, in order for the relationship to be aligned, those energies still have to be balanced.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the energies still have to be balanced. And if you are a single person, then you have to balance those energies within yourself. Mm-hmm. So no matter how you look at it, whether it's me, myself, and I, or me in partnership, it has to be balanced, because when it gets out of balance, that's when things start to kind of mess up in one direction or another. If there's too much masculine, we get burnout. If it's too much feminine, we get nothing done. So it has to be balanced. And you and I are both entrepreneurs and building businesses, and we are women who are doing this on our own. And this is a new up and coming thing as well. There are so many people who are going into business for themselves and creating all of these new, basically single person businesses from the ground up. And within that, we very much have to balance those masculine and feminine aspects, because the same thing happens in the process of business building. If we are too much in our masculine, then we get burnout real quick. And if we're too much in our feminine, then nothing is happening, nothing is moving along. There's got to be that balance of discipline and flow, action and rest, giving and receiving. And we have to figure that out for ourselves within this process.
Yeah, it's been a toughie.
Yeah.
Because I decided a long time ago that I'm not going to build a business in the same way that the world basically tells us to. I do not want to build a business that I am burnt out, doing. My calendar's full. I'm always busy. I have no time, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want to do that. So I, again, took the total opposite approach and just sat back and was like, come to me. So I sat back and I'm just looking to receive, and it didn't work. It did not work. So lately I have been implementing and making the two in harmony, where I'm setting up systems that that bring people in, and I'm doing the things in the external world to get the results that I want. Eventually, I can pay people to do these things that I don't want to do, and I can be just fully in my feminine energy. And that's what I'm going for.
That's the goal. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to just have the afternoon or just go and do and receive. But I have to get the two in harmony first before I can live in one over the other, which I still would have to do, the things. I'd still have to have the conversations with the people that I'm hiring. I'd still have to be doing masculine activities. I wouldn't have to be doing the taxes and doing the website and doing all of those things. I could pay somebody to do that. But it's still, ultimately, I still have to do things in my external world to build the business that I want to build. So it's difficult because right now the world is basically saying, like, hustle, hustle, hustle. And if you're not tired out, you're not successful. If you're not, all these different things. I watched this movie before, The Devil Wears Prada, and he said something like, once you start getting successful in work, you start losing all your friends, or something like that. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That's a very old world thing. I don't have to not make time for friends and family to be successful. That's just silly to me. And I don't want to live that way. So for me, that means harmony. I have to be in harmony with both of the energies. And that's how I think the world we're headed that way. We're headed to that, like, soft place that I see it every day when I'm talking to somebody who was very masculine oriented, and now all of a sudden they're a little bit softer, and they're tapping into that feminine just a little bit more. And I get so excited because I'm like, yes, this is where we're headed. This is where we're going, people.
Yeah.
So,
and there's such a learning curve to get there, though. There really is. It does not happen overnight. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of trial and error. I've been on both sides of it in the journey of building this business of being, doing way too much and doing things that don't feel good and that are not aligned just because somebody said this is what you're supposed to do. And that didn't work. And then I've been in the other end where I just lay around and do nothing and, wait to receive. And you get too far in that doesn't work either. And now I'm at a point where I feel like I am learning to take inspired, aligned action. So when the inspiration comes, which is through the feminine side, the inspiration comes through the feminine, through the intuition. When that comes, that's when I take the action. And taking the action is the masculine part. And doing that together is what makes it aligned. And when it's not inspired action, when it's because somebody said so, but I don't really feel it, then I don't do it. So That's kind of where I am with the process right now. Very much trying to balance it.
Yeah. And I also spent a lot of time in the masculine trying to build a business by hiring coaches that were telling me their process that worked, that just didn't feel good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a learning curve, like you said, because I had to learn what masculine energy tasks and things and what my masculine energy is bringing to this business. And it's like a lot of people with the logic are like, well, you have to do this or you're not going to make money. But that's all. I truly believe that if you have an idea, if something comes to you, it is absolutely possible. Mm-hmm. We have this idea that, like, when I get this intuitive hit to build my business this way, I only know that because I am like leading the way. And I know there's women that have been doing this, but I'm leading the way in the way I am so that other people can come behind and be like, oh, wow, mm-hmm. She didn't have to do that. She mm-hmm. didn't do that. She didn't do that. Mm-hmm. But she's still building a business and living in the freedom that she wants to live in by not doing what everyone says.
Yes.
And so I very much feel like, I kind of feel like sometimes I'm like, I have a torch and I'm like blazing the grass, like a path for people to show people, uh-huh. Look, this is possible. We can do this. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it is a very much a learning curve to be able to accept all of those masculine and feminine traits, energies, all that in yourself. Mm-hmm. And to be able to say no. Mm-hmm. the boundaries.
Yes, that's a whole different episode there on the boundaries. Entirely different.
Absolutely.
Entirely different episode. Yeah. But I think what it comes back to is whether we're talking about a relationship within yourself, a relationship with another person, whether that's a personal relationship, a friendship, a business relationship, whatever it is, or in the aspects of business building, all of these things, we all have the masculine and the feminine energies, and they have to be balanced in some way or another. So I think we are about finished with our time today. But for our listeners and watchers out there, let us know how this is working for you in your life as a single person in a relationship, as an entrepreneur. How are these energies playing out? Are they balanced? Are they not? We would love to hear from you. So comment on the show or send us an email and let's connect. Okay?
Yeah, I just have one more comment. Okay. So when you are living, like, you can definitely build a business or live your life in one or the other fully. You can. It's possible. But the two balance is where you're living the most authentically. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's about, is living the most authentic you. So that's all.
Yeah, that's great.
One last thing.
Yeah, I love that. Because that's where the freedom comes from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where we feel the most free. Okay, beautiful. Yep. All right, guys, until next time. Bye.
Bye.